Welcome, fellow citizens of YouTube. I am Based, and today I'm gonna talk about the recent Ukrainian attack into Russian territory. Yeah, you don't really see that often. Usually, of course, Ukraine attacks the Russians, but they attack the Russians in Ukraine. But this time, they attacked Russians in Russia proper. In Russia never was Ukraine. And this is a rare occurrence. Last time, in March, they attacked around here, did a short sabotage mission and retreated. And this time they did a bigger one here. And I'm gonna go over real quick what happened there. And then, the more important part, explain why it possibly could have happened. A small group of Russian volunteers in the Ukrainian army, so Russians, but Russians that don't like the Russian government, that don't like Putin, that want a revolution, and as far as I know, a pro-Western regime in Russia, attacked Russia, captured these few villages, rolled over these few villages, and got up to here. Here's a little map of how far they say they've gotten. And they certainly got somewhere here. And then they got pushed back or retreated into Ukraine a few days later. And it may seem like a completely futile effort. Why would they attack into Russia with such a small force that they would get pushed back instantly? And Russia can't even let them stay there, because letting Ukrainian troops stay on Russian soil would be a huge embarrassment. So an attack like this would be met with such great force in retribution that you would need a way bigger force to hold this territory here. And as far as I know, the Ukrainians haven't really destroyed anything or captured anything that important in this area. And I don't know if there is anything that important in this area to warrant the worthiness of such an attack. So let's explore multiple possibilities why this attack may have occurred. The first one is, maybe this attack really was just embarrassing the Russians, showing that a small Ukrainian force can even advance through a few villages to a slightly bigger city across the border, that Russia can't keep its citizens on the border safe. Maybe it was just about embarrassing Russia a little bit. Maybe it was just for propaganda. A small win in conquering Russian territory exactly at the point while Bakhmut was falling, where Bakhmut fell. So maybe that was just, to keep the Ukrainian morale high. Yeah, we lost Bakhmut, but we kicked Russia in the ass in Russia proper. But maybe it's way deeper than that. So, first possibility, the most interesting one and the most risky one, is this could be a test for a future offensive into mainland Russia to force the Russian government to accept a settlement, or to even destroy Russia in the biggest case. But let's go with the first alternative, force them to agree to a settlement. Of course, if you advance towards Moscow, it's a huge fuck up for Putin. He has to resolve this situation quickly, or the people are gonna riot against him big time. So Putin will probably be likely to accept a peace offer that Ukraine really likes, to save Moscow from a possible Ukrainian attack. Even if the Ukrainian attack wouldn't even manage to go to Moscow, in reality, just the threat of it could make Putin and the Russian government very scared, and make them accept a unfavorable peace deal. But maybe they want to destroy Russia and become the new leader of the Russian world. What I'm talking about is like Belarus and the East Slavic world. This of course sounds like complete ridiculous bullshit, and maybe it isn't true, but Western leaders close to Ukraine have often proclaimed that they want to destroy Russia or end Russia in its current form, and try to incentivize the Russian people with sanctions and other means to start a pro-Western color revolution. But as this doesn't seem to work, a Ukrainian advance into Russia could change the situation and tip the scales for the population in Russia to, dissolve Putin and his friends. This is very risky, but a multiple year-long war against Russia will be hard to maintain for Ukraine even with Western help. So it's a choice of a certain defeat, trying to fight a year-long war against Russia, the country that's very good at fighting year-long wars, or an all-in strategy and Ukraine possibly becoming an incredibly powerful nation in Eastern Europe. I mean, it's pretty powerful now, but incredibly powerful it could be, integrated into the Western system. Pretty much everything Ukraine can wish for, if such an offensive would be successful. Also, Belgorod is a perfect starting point for an Ukrainian offensive into Russia, as it's very very close to Ukraine and on the way to Moscow. It as well seems to be weaker than other points of the front, as a smaller formation of the Ukrainian army could quickly capture a few villages in a surprise attack. And Ukraine can quickly attack Belgorod with lots of forces, because there is a big force of Ukrainians in this area. In Kharkov, guarding Kharkov against a possible Russian invasion from Belgorod, and here in Luhansk, attacking and defending against the Russians on this axis. A lot of Ukrainians. And they could quickly be redeployed within a night to go to Kharkov, go towards this front and attack Belgorod. They already did something similar, where they moved a lot of troops from the surrounding areas here to Kharkov at night and to this area, where they managed to capture all of this territory in the super successful Kharkov counteroffensive in last September 2022. And by the way, the point where the Ukrainians, or the Russians that work for Ukraine, attacked is a perfect point for an invasion, as here you can do a very easy pincer. You can go up here, this road, or somewhere else, and you go down here, and so you can pretty quickly encircle this area. And here is a nuclear storage facility of Russia. I don't know if nukes are still stored there. If there are nukes still, then the Russians should get them the hell out of there. But, you know, that's a very important target. And has its own implications. So, this great possible high-risk strategy, of course, is a possibility. But maybe it's just a diversion. Attacking into Russia a few times with small forces to make it look like probing attacks, so the Russians, you know, send forces to defend this area against a possible Ukrainian invasion. Because if Ukraine really attacks towards Moscow, then you really want troops to be ready to defend this area. If the troops are all here in Zaporozhye, then you can't really redeploy them to defend this area. And if the Ukrainians are completely genius and way more powerful than most people think, then they could cut off here the Crimean land bridge towards Melitopol, cut off this area and destroy the bridge here, and then all of these troops here would be trapped, a huge part of the Russian army. So the only troops that could redeploy to defend Moscow would be those. And then the Donbass would be undefended and Ukraine could recapture all of this territory. Or Russia would lose a lot of territory here. So maybe even if they attack towards Moscow, they don't want to win against Russia by capturing Moscow, but they want to scare Russia so much that they redeploy all of their troops from Ukraine to defend Moscow, because Moscow is, the survival of the state is 1,000 times more important than capturing a few cities in eastern Ukraine. But I digressed a little bit. Maybe they want the Russians to think that that's the plan of the Ukrainians, so the Russians redeploy a lot of troops here, so those troops can't be redeployed quickly when the Ukrainians finally strike in Zaporozhye, which is the big expected Ukrainian attack. And on the first look, it's the most sensible way Ukraine could recapture its territory, by attacking here in Zaporozhye, probably towards Melitopol. And this attack, this big Ukrainian attack, probably would have to take place this year, this summer. So, I think the recent small attack towards Belgorod in this area goes way deeper in strategical thinking than it seems like. I don't think it was just some dudes thinking, haha, let's drink some vodka, oh yeah, let's go into Russia just for fun, ha ha ha. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of thinking went into this, and it's a way of fucking with the mind of the Russians. And maybe it's a way of finding out how well defended this area is, and for the Ukrainian general staff to decide if they're gonna attack in Zaporozhye, if they're gonna attack towards Moscow or into Russia proper in general, or if they're gonna do both, or if they're gonna do nothing. Testing the waters. So, that was my quick video. I'm gonna be on vacation the next days, but I'm probably still gonna make some videos if I get the opportunity to. But yeah, have a great one.